Let's suppose you'd like to make a Gantt chart, either because you're organized or because your professor is making you turn one in with your proposal. Gantt charts are good for timelines. It's a way to visualize a timeline, not only when things will begin and end, but how long they'll take. To set up a set of data for Tableau to make a Gantt chart, you'll need start off with a few columns. So I've got task, start date, duration, and status here. Status is there in case you'd like to update the status as you progress through a project, which for the class isn't that important, but in real life it could be very important. I have names of different tasks here for a research project. This one involves human subjects, so I don't have IRB on here, but in the class you may not need that. Anyway, I've got several different tasks listed and the start dates for them, and the duration in terms of days, the number of days, and how long I think it will take. Now, I've taken some time to work on these and get the dates how I think maybe they ought to be, and then obviously we can't have started this if if we haven't hit that date yet. All right, and one other thing I'd like to do right now, which will help us, we could do this in Tableau, but it's easy enough just to do it now. Plus, it helps us to estimate how long each thing should take, and make sure that, say, for example, when we purchase equipment, at the end of that time is when we start our testing of the equipment. We want to make sure those line up. So what I'm going to do is say that this equals the start date in the corresponding row to plus the duration in days, and Excel will figure out that you mean days there. I'm just going to drag this to fill the remaining rows, and then we're done pretty much. So I do want to make sure that some things line up because they need to. For example, we can't test equipment before we've purchased it, so giving ourselves 2 weeks to order equipment and for it to ship, and then get here, test equipment on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, pretty much just making sure we know how to use it, and then start collecting data on the 5th. So so those line up. Some things we just want to make sure they line up. Some things can overlap. For example, collecting and cleaning data. As we collect the data and upload it onto a computer, we can also be cleaning the data as we go. If we have a tight timeline, then we may want to do that. Data analysis needs to wait till we have all the data, unless, I guess, it could depend on the project, but in this case, I'm waiting, so I wanted to make sure that, yep, those line up. We haven't started that until we're done cleaning. Developing a presentation could be done over a long time period. You could start with an introductions and methods even before you've collected any data or done any analysis. Anyway, so I've got this ready. I'm going to hit save. So we've got it ready, and then I'm going to open up Tableau. I just want to make sure that that it's updated to 33. Okay, so it is the most updated version of my spreadsheet. It has the end dates there. And this looks good. It's already got us there, so I'm going to go ahead and go into the sheet. All right, what I want to start with here is one thing we can do is, let's wait on the status. I'm going to pull the task here to the color and also to the rows. I'm going to pull the start date here, and I don't want that in terms of, actually we'll put it on column. I don't want that in terms of the year. I want it in terms of the day. So I click this little down arrow here, and instead of day here, this is the day of the month. I'm going to say day with the full date. So now we get this long chart that has these little slits. I want to make sure that that they're longer or larger for larger, the tasks that have longer duration. So I'm going to pull duration from here to size and drop it there. All right, so now we can start to see stuff. It still needs some work, right? I want to sort this in terms of the start date, and so I click the down arrow on task, and I'm gonna say sort by field and not duration. I'm gonna sort by the start date. I'm not sure this matters, but I'm just gonna go with minimum just in case and say apply and then OK. So now things line up in a nice sort of cascading chart there. It looks a lot better. I don't like these colors exactly the way they are. I like to show some sequence with the colors as well. It just helps communicate the order. And I like the hue circle. You can pick whatever you want. I just like it because the colors are different, but they still move in a logical pattern. So I say assign the palette. It gives colors here. If I don't like any of them, I can select something and change it. Although, I want that to be that color. I'm going to say apply and OK. So now we've got a nice little chart going. One thing that I'd like to do as well is to put the end date at the end of each of these bars, just so we have an idea of what is the deadline for each of those tasks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull end date down to the label right here and let go. Now it's showing the year again, so I'm going to have to come down and tell it that I want the day. So I hit that drop down arrow again and come down to day. Now I've got the actual day that it ends, and sort of like a deadline for each of these activities. And a couple other things I want to do here is I would like to add some grid lines, and if we are properly labeling a figure, we don't have the title at the top, so I'm gonna just hide that, and I'm gonna edit this to just say start date. Okay. I'm going to also format the font, make it a little bit larger, just so it's easier to see. Because once we paste this into a Word document, it's gonna look a little different. I'm gonna pull this down. Pull this down slowly because it likes to jump if you go pretty far. All right, at least now it's filling the screen and we can read it a little better. Pull that over, although in our final figure I don't really want to put that in it. I'm going to say format and the lines, and I'm going to say I want grid lines and I want them to be this dotted dash line, and I'm going to make it black so I can actually see them. I also want some of these other lines to be present, like the axis rulers, and that's starting to look a lot better to me. There are some other things that we could do to tweak this, but at this point it's pretty close to being ready for export. I just want to see if well, we could change this 2018. I'm not going to worry about it right now. Maybe that. Okay, that didn't matter. Doesn't matter. All right, so now that we've got this put together, I want to export it into my report, or my proposal rather. So I'm going to come to worksheet, and I'm just going to copy and paste it. So I come to copy, and I am going to say image. I just want the view. Sometimes this color legend will be selected, or the caption will be selected. Sometimes you want those, but in this case, it doesn't really matter because these tasks are also named over here, so we know what task it's talking about by coming over and reading it here rather than over there. So I say OK, and now I can just paste this into a Word document, and because I had it selected, it does that. So you got to unselect that and copy it again. And paste it in. Awesome.